Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk with Sana, and today is episode 3 of Embracing Neurodiversity and Special Needs. And today we have our special guest, Reema AbdelKarim. She's an author and she has written her autobiography in 13 years. I remember that, and it's called Living with Miracles. And we have our regular speakers, Dr.Nayela Ahmed and author Nazhah Khawaja. And we are going to talk about, in the last 2 episodes, let me remind you that we talk about autism and early autism services, because both of them, they're working actively in the fields. And this week we are talking as mothers, what we feel as a mother of children with varying needs, if we have normal children, if we have children with special needs, or they are children with autism. And then we are going to talk and discuss, we will walk you through different phases or things that could hurt us, or people just say it unintentionally or they do. And then we will share our own experience in it. And then I think there's a lovely document that we found, and it will really help each of us and all of you who will be viewing it. And then Nayela, I think, is going to share and talk about it. So welcome, Reema.
Hello, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Yeah, we are very much obliged to have you.
Yeah, I think I will start with something which is on my mind. Like, a lot of people talk about, when you have a child with special needs, and if you're just going around or people coming to you, there's a lot of pity involved. It's like they really feel pity for you. They're really sorry for you that you have a child with special needs, or you have a child which is different. And you feel like, what did I do wrong? Was I in a competition or somewhere, that I have to produce a very healthy or a, competitive child, and then somehow I just failed? And people are feeling sorry for me. What did I do wrong? What happened? Where is my fault, or where is my child's fault? But then I think it's not us. It's not, the people who have special children with special needs, because as we say, they're special, and then, okay, there's some special needs, and, the way we need to take care of them. And I also feel like the parents also become special after some time, because they also need so much care and attention, because they're just continuously giving it to them. But what we receive from the people around is more pity, than a normal reaction. So I feel like, like people with special children or different children, they don't need the pity. I mean, they need an acceptance, and they need, like, the children need to be accepted and fitted, and in the society, and you have to make an environment where they feel comfortable, and even you have to integrate. They're not like two different worlds, one for normal people and one for special people. It's the only world where we live in, and then others have to integrate this one, and then so all of us can just stay and be calm and enjoy our lives, and whatever in the way that we can do it. So I mean, that's my own opinion. Like, Southeast Asia, it's like full of pity.
Yeah, very
People are
much.
even hiding their children, and it's a lot of fear and anxiety I see in the parents. Like, it's like they did something wrong or bad. I mean, why? You don't have to hide your child. You don't have to be ashamed of anything. It's natural. It's from your creator, and then he chose you to parent a child, and he thought that you are so much strong, and you can take care of that child. So you are also a special one, because you are chosen with that responsibility. So there is nothing to be ashamed of. And for the others, I would say there's no need for that feeling or that emotion, that pity, oh my God, that poor thing, or the poor parents, they're suffering. No, they're not. They're happy that they're chosen. They're happy that they have so much barakah in their life because of that special child. And yes, what they're looking for is an acceptance, and also like integration of their children in a normal school or environment or things like that. And maybe like some centers where you both are working, that where you make life easy, for the parents and children. So that's my opinion. What do you think, Reema? What are your experiences?
You're actually right in everything that you've said, and I think that people need to blame someone for their child being, disabled, or they have special needs. And because I did have that experience with Angelica, my daughter, my youngest daughter, where I had someone very close to me say to me, but God can't do that. You must have done something wrong. What did you do for her to be like that? Because a lot of people don't understand that, you know, you don't choose the gift that you receive. You know, these children are gifts. You don't, like, if I was to give you something, you don't say, you know, but I want this to be that, or it has to be a particular shape or look or whatever. You accept it, you say thank you, and you use it, or you look after it, or whatever it is, you know. So they don't understand that this is a gift from Allah, you know. So and to them it's like, there is a problem here. This child has disabilities. God isn't that cruel. So why did this happen? But why are you seeing it that God is being cruel by giving me something like that? You know, it's just that it's a different perception that they have of disabilities, and why it's, you know, you have your child, you know, that has disabilities. But it's not nice.
We are here to change that
demonize.
perception, you know. It's like, it's a slow work, but that's also like, you know, we are working on changing the perception at the root cause, that it reaches more and more people view it and they understand that, okay, you know, it's not something to be ashamed of, to be pity, or that, you know, that you are punished in a way if you have a child like that.
Absolutely.
Like my mother-in-law, she had 2 children with the special needs, and I mean, they both didn't survive after like 3 years, but I mean, she was happy and everyone, you know. And my son Amjad is named after his uncle. He was called Amjad, and the one who lived 3 years. And then I think all of them, they loved him so much, because I mean, those kids, they have never spoken anything bad to anyone. They have never a bad thought, you know. They're just some angels living in your house. So how can, you know, you say to them that it's something bad? So really, I mean, so they were really missing Amjad so much that when I had my baby, and then my husband said, okay, you know, let's call him Amjad. So I could see that connection that he missed with his brother, you know, that emotions behind it, that he wants to call him Amjad. And I said, okay, let's go ahead with it. But there's another issue, like in Dutch, they don't pronounce J, it's Ye. So everyone now calls him here Amjad, which I don't like. I'm like, oh, you know, it's like sometimes he calls himself Amjad, and I have to remind him, no, beta, you are Amjad. So
But,
now
you know,
it's like,
can I just add something? I think also that when it comes from the parent's perspective, that in terms of, like, with my mother, I'll just sort of mention my mother. She looked at me when I had my firstborn, you know, she had severe disabilities. And mum sort of felt sorry for me that I'm not going to have a normal life anymore. So she's looking that her daughter is going to be, you know, sad. She's going to be suffering. She's going to be exhausted because she's going to be looking after her daughter. So she looked at it from her perspective as a mother towards me, you know, that I'm not going to be, you know, living the life, you know, just
that
having
she
healthy
imagined for
children
you.
and just the norm, you know, what's classified as the norm. And subhanAllah, like, you know, a lot of the times they don't understand that, you know, I am very happy. Just because you don't, because I'm not living the life that you think that will be happy for, like, that makes me happy, doesn't mean that I'm not happy. This makes me happy, that I'm looking after my children, you know, they are my priority. They're my number one priority. But because I'm not a, you know, one to go out to concerts and parties and, you know, just the typical, I guess, you know, younger person. I was 20 when I had my first. So I was like thrown into this whole world of, you know, medical things that I had to learn, and in and out of hospitals. And for her, it's like, well, my daughter's not living, you know, a young sort of newlywed life. And so I can understand where they're coming from, you know, the older generation. So we can't be too hard on them. But I think these days, there is a lot more awareness. People are speaking up a lot more. And because I'm a lot older now, I can sort of talk, meaning I can sort of say to the younger ones, you know what, speak up. Don't be me when I was younger, where I was, you know, afraid to say something, or, you know, I didn't even know what hit me at the time when I had my daughter, because I haven't seen any child with disabilities. I didn't even know that it was remotely possible to have a child with disabilities. So now I'm saying, you know what, talk about it. If your parent or, you know, your neighbor or something, whoever says something and you don't like it, you feel it's offensive, tell them, politely, you actually hurt me. I'm actually happy with my child. Don't make me feel like as if something wrong, is going on, because it's not. These are children just like any other child, and they deserve to be loved and cared for, and a lot of people, they just feel like your life is going to waste if you're looking after children with disabilities. Yes, it is a lot harder possibly than looking after a healthier child, because they're more demanding. But you know what? You can have a child that is healthy with no problems whatsoever, and he can be the worst kid you can possibly have. So it's not about the disability. It goes beyond that.
I think you bring up some really good points about that awareness and speaking up, the perspective too. That's a very important angle to remember. Is just the perspectives, and I think that's where sometimes there can be those moments of where some people may be uncomfortable around you or your child that has special needs, and I know we were wanting to touch upon acknowledgement and then being able to connect, right? Because when you don't have the acknowledgement, when you don't have the information or the knowledge or the awareness, then there's no way that you can connect with the parent or the family. And the connection is important for the families to feel like they are okay in their spaces of community or wherever it is, the workplace, and amongst friends and family. And the more that we can have that connection, that positive connection, and grow in our knowledge, and the more that we can help these children feel like they belong in the society that is just designed for more neurotypical individuals, which is unfair to them to begin with. And so I'm just wondering what your thoughts on about how to maybe grow or build that connection or the awareness, the acknowledgement. And I love the way that you said, you suggested just say it. Like if it's something that, is someone comes to you. And so I think that's very brave, and it's not always easy, but in this day and age, there is more awareness. So there's more resources available for people to actually look into these different varying abilities and see what it's about. I think there's also
a lot more tolerance as well, depending on what part of the world you live in. Like, for example, when I go to Egypt for a holiday, I don't see any children with special needs or anyone with special needs out in the streets, and plus it's not a wheelchair friendly kind of country anyway, so being blessed to live in a Western country like Australia, and you notice that people just they're a lot more accepting of children with disabilities, or special needs. And there are facilities, for these people, whether it be like, the ramps, the parking, all these kind of things. And there's more and more of that. Whereas a long time ago, it wasn't like that, and even in terms of family and friends, now it's sort of more accepting. It's not as unusual, because I'm noticing that there are a lot more children are being diagnosed or being told, parents are being told that they have autism. So I remember my friend, she had two boys with autism. And back then, no one had ever heard of autism. Whereas now it's like, it's very common, even in Arabic, I never knew what that word was, what it meant, but now I hear it all the time. So people are talking a lot more, which is good, and we just have to just keep pushing and talking about it and asking people just to accept these children, because they deserve to be accepted just like any other child, whether it be young or old.
Yeah, so true. And we are so glad that you shared your mother's perspective and how you handle it and how you went at, because we all, especially in South Asian communities, we have a tendency, like we do live in joint families. And then there is a very important role of the extended family in our lives. So then, but still, in this age also, I would say that our extended families and friends and neighborhood, they are not that sensitive enough. They are not, they don't have that awareness yet, especially in this part of the world. They don't. The main problem which I feel is that no one is ready to get out of their comfort zone. Everyone is too comfortable in their own skin. They are like, oh, they're not sharing that empathy. They are not, because it's not that they don't want to, but it's too difficult for them. Like, why? First thing is that it's not, they think that it's not our job. Why should we be concerned? So the second thing is that because they don't have the purpose, so they are like, why should we get out of our comfort zone? And it's too difficult for them to put in that energy, that effort.
You know what's really difficult? I remember with my first child especially, and even until now, like with Angelica, is a lot easier. But I remember whenever I used to take Amira out of the house, I would have my guard up, and it's almost like I'm ready to fight anyone, because as soon as I would take her out of the house, people stare, people point their finger, and people start asking questions, and in a not very nice way. It's not like, oh, she's so gorgeous, how old is she? No, it's like, oh, what's wrong with your kid? Why does she look like that? Or, how old is she? Why is she so small? Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I felt that there was too much anxiety for me to take her out of the house. I was suffering a lot of anxiety. It's like every time I have to leave the house, I have to face, a whole bunch of questions and judgment from people. I didn't want to do that, so I found myself, I was just wanting to be home more, that way I'm safe. No one can hurt me. Whereas now with Angelica and with the experience that I have, like after having, 3 daughters with severe disabilities, now I take her out and it's like, you want to stare all you want. I couldn't care less, so I've come to that point where actually I play a game with people now. It's almost like, I'm so traumatized. It's like, now it's my turn to be mean. Actually, no, I'm only kidding. Whereas when people say to me, oh, how old is she? Right? Angelica just turned 10 years old. So I will turn around and I'll say, depending if I'm feeling, nice or not on the day, I will say she's 10, but I'll leave it at that. And they'll say, oh, she's 10 months. And I'll just turn around and I'll be like, no, she's not 10 months. And I'll walk away. See, if I feel that that person is asking because they just want to be nosy and they just want to be rude, well, then, you know what? I don't owe you an explanation. I don't have to tell you anything, but if you're asking me because you sincerely and genuinely want to know, and then I will say she's 10 years old, because she's only very small. So she's only, 6 kilos. She's quite tiny for her age. And she's like in a size 1 baby clothes. So she's quite small, you can imagine. So when I say, she's 10, people just, I throw them off, but now it's like, you know what, I'm taking my daughter out and I'm not going to put that canopy, of her wheelchair to cover her so people don't look at her and make comments. You want to make comments? I actually feel sorry for them. I actually pity them, because you are really blind, you can't see, beyond the disability. I just feel that people can't see beyond the disability, disabled themselves. And I've said it before, it's like you have a disability, you can't see, these are children and they're worthy, just like how everybody else is. So that is very stressful for parents, because you just want to go for a little walk with your child, whether they have autism, whether they have, visibly they don't look, like they have any special needs, for example, like autism, and people start pointing the finger or staring and saying, why is your kid doing that? My son had Tourette's syndrome. Well, he still does, but it's not visible, it's not obvious. And alhamdulillah, it didn't turn vocal. But one time I was in the shopping center and there was a man it was obvious he had Tourette's syndrome, and he was swearing, and he was just, having these bursts of, verbal things that he was saying. I just kept going on my business, it's whatever, continue doing my shopping and everything. And then I just looked around. Most of the people were doing what I was doing, going about their business. A lot of other people, unfortunately, not so much, Western people, they were looking and very sort of like, what's wrong with that guy? Why is he swearing so? Why is he having these bursts of, verbal things that he was saying? Like, he just randomly scream or randomly make animal sounds. We don't need to know. just let him be. He's not hurting anyone. Just leave him alone. We don't have to know what's wrong with that person, you know, or go stare at him or point the finger or, you know. Sorry, I think I'm just talking too much here.
No, I mean,
No, not
we
at all.
relate
It's
to it.
fine.
I think it's, I mean, I think Nayela can really relate to it, that in India, we grew up in India, that it's somebody's behaving a bit different,
Yeah.
and then people just crowd around him and just start watching him. And nowadays it's a new trend to even you know, shoot that people
Yeah.
and make videos and forward that.
To
So
them.
we are becoming more cruel as a collective society. I mean, I really feel bad in that way, that we have seen that people were getting hurt or in a fight, or someone had an accident, and people were really making videos and sharing instead of helping. Yeah, helping or respecting the privacy of those people. So, I mean, I think it really needs to be talked about, you know.
And you really put across very, very relevant points, and which is actually happening in the real world. So we really need to talk about these things. This is happening, and people should understand that, you know, that we all, even, you know, with special needs or with no needs, we all share the same earth, and we all, you know, we all have the equal rights to exist. So, and you are no one to put that divide or discrimination or view through that lens. You have not any rights, special rights for that. And it couldn't be just done. Just because you're typical growing, that doesn't make any difference. And we need to get this message out loud and very clear to the world.
There was one incident. Once I was having coffee with my husband and at a shopping center, and I looked across and there was this young, he was probably around maybe 14, 15, around about that age. He was playing the guitar, and you can tell that he had special needs. And I found out later it was his sister, but I thought it could be his mother. She was sitting reading a magazine and having her coffee while he was just doing his own thing. People were staring, people weren't staring, whatever. Now, when he was playing, I just felt like he was soothing my heart. As he was playing the guitar, I felt he was so happy. You can see the happiness, you know, he was beaming, you know. And after I finished my coffee, I just wanted to go up to, well, I thought it was the mother. I wanted to say to her that you are doing a great job, right? Now, as I was walking up to her, I built up the courage to do that as well, you know, because it's not easy for me to do things like that. But when I went up to her, as I was coming closer to her, she put her magazine down and her coffee. And then I could feel that she was fixing her posture. She was sitting up straight, and her facial expressions changed. They changed exactly how mine used to change when someone was approaching me. She had her back up. She thought I was coming to attack her or to say, what is this kid doing? You know, tell him to shush up or whatever it may be. And I could see that, you know, the discomfort on her face. I actually felt very sad. I felt, and I looked at her, but I could see myself in her. I'm like, is that what I look like when someone is approaching me? And then I just came up to her gently and I just said, look, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you that you are doing an amazing job with your son. He is gorgeous. The way she dropped her shoulders and the way she just went back into her seat and she said, thank you. You don't know how much that means to me, but he is my brother, not my son. But it was interesting for me to see myself, but through someone else, you know, and just something like that. Like, it didn't take much of my time. I thought he was gorgeous. I thought he just soothed my heart. And I just wanted to say that to her. Why can't we do more of that? Why can't we see parents, you know, that have children, you know, that even if the child is throwing, you know, a tantrum in the middle of the shopping center, it's okay if we go up to the parent and say, you know what, we've been through it, you're doing amazing. So little things like that, I think we're just too busy just looking out for our own, you know, pain and everything, that we just forget about everybody else. You know, we just need to just stop doing that. Just go up to people and just give them like basically a pat on the shoulder and say, you know what, good on you. You know, and I could see the smile on her face and I just felt, wow. You know,
that was,
you know,
and that's such a rare thing we find, such a rare thing. I mean, and that's something we all crave for. You know, that's such a, you know, such a piece of encouragement and acknowledgement. It's like, oh yes, it's something which I could see in my brother, or I could see in my son, and that's something someone else could also see. I mean, that feeling, it's such a fulfilling feeling, such a reliever. And
Yes.
as you were just mentioning that how her body posture changed and all that, I mean, we could just visualize everything, what could have happened. And yeah, it was beautiful. And it was courageous of you to do that. We need more people.
Agreed.
Look, I
taking
think,
that initiative.
like I said, I was a bit nervous because I didn't know how she was going to receive that. But I knew, because I was going up to her to say something positive, and I'm like, you know what, even if she was to tell me it's none of your business, go away, you know, whatever, I understood that as well, because like I said, you know, you take your children out, and then you've got your backup, you're on guard, you're just ready, you know, and then when you come home, it's like, it's
You're
almost like, you know, that war, the fight is over. I can
Fight
just,
is
you know,
over.
relax and be in my zone. It shouldn't be like that, you know. We shouldn't
Exactly.
have to hide them away from society, you know. They are part of society.
And we don't want to be on high alert all the time. And the, you know, and the saddest part is that we have to be on a high alert even in our family, even within our home. We're like, oh, now, you know, he will say this or she will say that, or they will take it this way or something like that. And even our very own people, they just don't understand things. They are judging you every time. And it's like, we
But do
need
you
to
notice
change.
that they protect people? Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, it's almost like, for example, you know, I need to protect such and such, you know, that she might feel uncomfortable if she was to see my daughter's, you know, child. A lot of people can't handle seeing children, you know, that have deformities. Like some children, you know, they're born that they have deformity, like their face is deformed, you know.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Angelica, half her face is actually, and especially more so now, but like I said, because her scoliosis and her bones are changing and that, but one side of her face is sort of more prominent than the other side, right? But why do I have to, for example, you know, my parents, they were afraid of, you know, the guests that were coming to their house. They didn't want them to feel uncomfortable, right? My parents, they love my children, you know, dearly. Okay, so it's not a matter of love or the affection that they have for them. It's like they've got guests coming into their house. What if these guests don't feel comfortable with our grandkids? So let's just put our grandchild, because somehow they're protecting their grandchild and they're protecting me, but not realizing that they're actually hurting me by doing that, right? Because their
intentions are right.
People. 100%.
Yeah,
that's why
the intentions are right. Yeah, yes. But you know what? We need that ecosystem in place so that they are not having any fear. I mean, that acceptance, that inclusion.
Yes,
that is needed in
now. It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen. Since my second daughter, that stopped happening. It's like, no, these are our grandkids, and that's it. You know, I'm never told to sort of, you know, put her in the other room, you know, and they always made it out so it's more sort of comfortable for my children to be in another room because it's not noisy. But I knew that maybe they didn't want to hear it from other people, that, oh, what's wrong with your grandchild? Why is she like that? Why does she look like that? Maybe they were avoiding questions like that because it's painful for them as well. Because as grandparents, they hurt just as much as we hurt, but they go about it in a way that maybe we don't feel that it's in a appropriate way. You know, it's hurtful, but they don't mean to hurt us. They're meaning to protect us and to protect, you know, their loved ones.
Yeah, that's very true.
I could relate to it so much. Like when my child, he got his hearing aids and cochlear implants for his hearing loss. Then people in my family, we had a wedding just after 1 month and in the family only. And then everyone was like, you just take off his implants when he's in the ceremony so that, you know, no one will see that. Obviously they wanted that. And I was like, no, a big no, that I'm not going to do that. And if I have to attend, if he has to attend, then only if he's wearing his implants. And sometimes we have to stand up for our kids. We have to do that. Even if they are having right intentions and things, they give me many excuses. Oh, you know, it will be very loud and all those things. Like, even whatever it is, he has to live in this world. He has to face these things. And I'm not going to give him this beginning.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes we have to step up, stand up, and say things which are tough for them also, for people who love us also. But then ultimately, it's all about acceptance. We all have to accept. And though it's painful, it's toilsome, but
Yes.
there is not an option.
100%.
I really loved what Nayela said, that, the earth belongs equally to everyone. So everyone has equal share, so there is nothing, nobody should have the right to tell the other one, what to do or where to go and how to live. So, and the ecosystem that we can provide, and all of us have to come together to give that environment to every child, irrespective of his or her needs, And if you keep away those children, they also don't know what to behave or how to react when they see people or when they're outside on the traffic. If they're not going outside enough, they don't know. They also have very high sensitivities to the noise and the light and these things, which we have developed, like we can control it. We don't become crazy when we see so much light and noise, and because we get used to of it. But if these children are not going out enough, they're not meeting people enough, they have a different kind of behavior, and it's coming from their own light or noise and these kinds of sensitivities which other people are not really understanding, or they get anxiety to be in public. So I think all of us have to bring that kind of ecosystem, that understanding. Like Nayela was reading a book and showing us, you can show it again, Nayela, that kindness book.
I love it.
The one that you
love
just
it.
purchased, Sana?
I'm just going to put up a review of this.
Deep kindness.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we need more
cover page,
kindness.
it's so very soothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this color, the shade of yellow. And it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, I think we need more kindness. We need more
it was
empathy.
mentioned. Yeah, and I read this on empathy. And if you want to know about empathy, just read this. It tells you about all the shades of empathy. That empathy is not only a happy feeling. It takes a lot of courage, resilience, grit. So empathy is a whole. It's a very big umbrella term which we need to understand. And if you really need to understand, just go through this book. It's awesome.
I will check it out.
So these things like
I will also mention
kindness,
it in the YouTube link. These two books as well, that what people can read, develop more kindness and empathy. And I think Nayela wants to share one document with us, which was really interesting.
Yeah, there is an article and it's like an excerpt from Transition Therapy, an existential approach to facilitating growth in the light of loss. It's by Ken Moses. So it typically addresses, desperate parents and how the professionals should approach desperate parents of children with needs or parents who are already themselves traumatized in their childhood. But I think we all could relate to it very well. And people, what we are expecting from the society for us, for our families, for our children, and in general also, I think everyone should read this article and know the values, this method, this framework, and behave in that way in the society to make this world a better place for all of us. So it's the framework is called Enough, and this article is Enough is Enough. So the first enough is ENUF, just the capital ENUF. Enough is enough, and that enough stands for empathizing, non-judgmentally, unconditionally, and focusing on feelings. That how we should react or interact or connect to people on this earth, to desperate parents. So we should have these virtues of empathizing, non-judgmental, being unconditional, and we should focus on the feelings of parents because they are definitely in grief, and that grief has to be acknowledged. It can't be denied. And the grief is portrayed in a variety of ways. Like it could be denial, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, guilt, anger, fear, but they are not the cause of distress for either parents. These feelings are not the cause of distress. They are the stepping stone for the path, for the transition, for the journey which we are going ahead as parents of special needs. So we need to acknowledge these feelings, and the people around, they need to acknowledge these feelings. If they won't, they're just crushing our first foundational step. It is the foundation on which we're going to, go ahead on our journey with our kids. And this is a transition phase. Like we all were never prepared for this. We were never made for this. It just came to us. So we also need our own time. It's a process to accept things and to learn things and to, to parent a child who has needs, to understand those needs. It's such a long process, and so we need a support system. And these feelings are like, what people do wrong is that they don't focus on these feelings. They just think that they should be just, shunned away. And this is the first wrong thing which happens in society by even our families, by friends, by professionals, that they just want to quell these feelings. They just want to squash these feelings, and they want to confront the denial. They want to calm the anxious. They want to cheer up the depressed, dissuade the guilt, chill out the angry, and comfort the fearful. And we are not in that stage. We are not able to face these things. We want acceptance. We want acknowledgement of our feelings, and then together we could go ahead. Like, for example, like generally we see, that people in family or friends also, they will just say, oh, it's okay. I mean, you can do that. You can get over it. And it's okay. He is doing well. But it's not that. We don't want that it's okay. We want your support. If you can't just do anything, just be neutral. But at least don't just say it's okay, because it's not okay. And we want that support that it's not okay.
Yes, and like trivializing your pain, it's making you show that it's not that great or big pain, or something that you're going through is not great enough, to be suffering or to be crying about.
Yeah. And you know what it's like, even if we are suffering, we want a partner. Yeah. We want to support, because we are suffering. If we are just saying that, okay, we are not suffering, it's okay to parent a child with needs and all that, it's not like that at all. We are suffering, but we want your support in that. Then we can get over that suffering. But it's a process, and we want partners. We want people around with us who could understand us. And we are ready to do anything. Like Reema very beautifully mentioned that, our kids are a priority. We can go way ahead for them. And we can do anything and everything for them. But just don't say that, or don't feel pity on us that, okay, she's not partying around, she's not, doing makeup and, just going for shopping and doing all those things. It's these things don't matter for us. These
and
things
also,
are
just because parents of special needs children don't complain, it doesn't mean that they're not hurting. It doesn't mean that they're not tired. Like alhamdulillah, I tend to, I'm very grateful for what I have, but that doesn't mean that I am not, I don't go through depression, anxiety, all that. I'm suffering as well, like I have bouts of where I'm just, literally in a dark place. And just because parents don't sit there and complain 24/7, you know what, Angelica didn't sleep all night, I didn't sleep, this and that, it doesn't mean that didn't happen. So don't assume that we have it very easy. And also don't assume that we are miserable all the time, because we're not. We have the good and bad, just like anybody else that has any child. Doesn't have to be a child with special needs. We all go through it. As parents, we all go through it, the ups and downs.
And you know what, I just want to convey one message, that please, especially with the mothers of special needs kids, people need to understand that they have some special jobs to do. They have to take care of the kids, and their kids are the priority. So some of the very common household chores are there, like cleaning, washing, cooking. They could be taken care of by any person. So please do understand, especially in these South Asian communities in our world, place we belong to. It's like, if the mother is not taking care of the child, it's okay. He's living, he's eating, he's drinking, he's fine. It's okay. You need not give that time to him or her, but you should do the washing and the cleaning and cooking. That's more important. So this is the thing which people need to understand, that what's the priority. And priority is not only about including things, it's about excluding things too. That what could be, what could be excluded. It's okay if any other person could cook. It's okay if we eat just dal roti. When my son was diagnosed, I told my family very clearly, for 2 to 3 years, I can just have khichdi in all my meals, but I'm not going to cook. Please don't expect me to cook or do any household chore, and I can eat just khichdi. Khichdi is like a mix of dal and rice. So I can have it, because I don't have to spend time on that. Because, this time is not going to come back. And I need to spend my time on my child. And I'm not going to compromise on that. But it's not. I always really wanted that it should not be me who's going to emphasize and saying that I have to do this for my child. I have to do that. It should be the people around who could have taken that initiative. That yeah. You please take care of your child, and other things could be taken care of. So I mean, it's such a dreamy world for me that if people could just say that, I just wish so very much.
I think we're also, as parents, though, we're very, like, I speak on my behalf, I'm very hard on myself. So for me, it's like, I don't know how to appreciate, I am now, okay, but I never used to be able to just have that me time where, you know what, I don't want to do anything. I don't have to do anything. I just want to sit down and not feel guilty for watching TV. I'm mentally exhausted because in my situation with my children, I grieve while they are alive and after they pass away. So it's a double grief for me because I am expecting that they are going to die, right? And then it happens and then I'm grieving in that process. So a lot of the times I find that, people around me don't expect me to do, like cook or clean or do this or do that. I expect it from myself. Maybe I just want to feel like I'm capable of doing all that. Maybe I don't want to feel like I'm, surrendering to the exhaustion or whatever it may be. So a lot of the times we are hard on ourselves. It's not so much the people around us. We do it to ourselves as well.
Yeah, the feeling of guilt makes us do that.
Are you falling asleep on us?
No, not yet.
I just wanted to add quickly that this is like extremely important points that you guys are bringing up, and just the article that Nayela mentioned enough, we can use that as parents for ourselves too, right? Just empathizing and focusing on the feelings non-judgmentally sometimes. So we do want that from the community, but we can give that to ourselves too.
So I think it was a great conversation and discussion, and I think something to take away for all of us, that we could see so much from the other's eyes or the experiences. And I would just say that, okay, for people who have special needs or children, they have children with special needs, they're not really looking out for pity. They're really looking out for connections, for support, for acknowledgement. And it's like, okay, they have a difficult life. They have more work to do than a normal, a person with the normal children, but they're not really, as Reema said, they're not always grieving, or they have also a normal life, okay, their normal life has some top ups on top, but they still have a normal life. They laugh, they play with their children, and they have good time, and they love their children as much as you love your children. So I would say what they're not really looking for is pity. And what they're really looking for is connection, acceptance, and acknowledgement, that you accept their children as every other child, that you love their children as every other child, and then you make a connection with those children and their parents. And we make an ecosystem where all the children and people can just, be themselves. They don't really have to wear the guard or, stress themselves out to meet the world. It's just, as a human being, we have to be being, we really don't have to prepare ourselves to be. So just let it flow. That's how every human being should be. And then that's what we are striving to be, So thank you so much, my lovely ladies. It was really an honor talking to all of you. And, you are all sharing wonderful experiences. And see you again, maybe.
Thank you,
Reema, on another episode, and then we can plan something again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reema.